In the present temperate zone of the Northern Hemisphere, temperatures were higher than now, and there is evidence of northward anomaly, especially before 5,000 to 4,000 BC or 7,000 to 6,000 years ago. The vegetation belts were displaced poleward towards the poles and to greater heights above sea level than now. In Europe, the summer temperatures can be estimated as prevailingly 2 to 3 degrees centigrade higher than now. In North America, rather less above present levels. The snow line was 300 meters, or about 985 feet, above the present level in Central Europe. Obviously, if the snow line goes up nearly 1,000 feet, that means that the climate is warmer than it is now. When it gets cold, the snow line comes down. When it gets warm, the snow line goes up in elevation. Annual mean temperatures in Europe were about 2 degrees centigrade higher than that.
Tell me a time you ever saw Brooklyn flooded like this after a rainstorm. I am born and raised in Brooklyn. I have never saw Brooklyn look like this after a rainstorm. So you're telling me the rain came off the coast and did this to Brooklyn? Or are you telling me that our drainage system is just that bad that Brooklyn is flooded like this? I've been through Hurricane Sandy. We had some crazy storms in the 90s. We had some crazy storms in the 80s. And I ain't never seen Brooklyn look like this. We see what Hurricane Melissa did to Jamaica. But then if you go down that rabbit hole and you look up Vision 2030 Jamaica, you tell me what that means. So now you got to ask yourself, what's going on in Brooklyn? Because I've never saw rain do that to Brooklyn, let alone a spot in Brooklyn that's not by water. And this is for entertainment purposes only. But this leads me back to Texas. Earlier this year, floods, rain, unexplainable rain, no warning, no nothing. So you're telling me that these people didn't know that Brooklyn was going to get this type of weather? And then I have to ask myself, what do they want with Brooklyn? What do they want with Brooklyn? I'm going to just say this. I've never seen Brooklyn look like that ever in my whole entire existence. Pay attention.
So do you guys think they're wiping certain parts out just to come in and do their smart cities? You think that's the plan on destroying all these places?
Oh my God. Can I just light the pumpkin? Can I unplug it?
I ain't gonna lie, on Halloween Day, the winds was super crazy. Everything was flying away. That's how strong the wind was where I'm from.
The Earth's regulation system is breaking down. For millions of years, the oceans, forests, and atmosphere work together like a single engine, exchanging carbon, maintaining pressure, and keeping the planet's temperature within limits. That control system is starting to fail. The feedback has changed direction. In 2024, the atmosphere held on to 45% of everything released into it, the highest fraction ever recorded. The oceans, once capable of dissolving vast amounts of carbon, are now too warm. Stratified layers block the deep cold currents that used to draw greenhouse gases down. The land, scorched and dry, absorbs less each year. The Amazon, Siberia, and Central Africa, once carbon sinks, are turning into sources. What the planet used to take back, it now keeps. The system is slipping into positive feedback. The more carbon that remains, the warmer it gets. The warmer it gets, the weaker the sinks become. The process feeds itself. The regulation that once held steady has become a loop without restraint. Volcanoes, fires, and natural decay still play their part, but those forces break even over time. The difference now is the constant pulse of human output, geological carbon forced into the air faster than the planet can process. Each year adds another layer the Earth cannot remove. The signs are everywhere. The oceans darken and lose oxygen. Forests burn through their own reserves. The soil exhales more carbon than it stores. The atmosphere thickens, trapping heat that no longer has an escape route. These are not forecasts. They are measurements. Every ton released now stays extra in the air. Every year builds on the last. The correction phase is over. The amplification has begun. Go to our website, abovethenormnews.com, for the full breakdown.
If you're enjoying this video, I put several videos out a week. It'll be amazing if you hit the subscribe button and join me in the next video.
Ahí está otra vez, ahí está otra vez, ahí está otra vez. No para quieto. Lleva días viniendo, yo sabía que algo raro estaba pasando en el cultivo. Mírenlo bien.
Recorded a 3 minutes long video talking, and the playback shows me doing something completely different. Is this a glitch in the matrix?
There are demons who preferentially attack Latino people, and there are demons who preferentially attack Anglo people.
Tell me why.
I don't know. Those are demons. That's their. I don't engage with demons. I don't ask them questions. I know some exorcists will ask questions. What's your name? What are you doing? I don't do that. I just cast them out. But there are backgrounds that could be. So, for instance, I ask about Ouija board use or tarot cards, which are much more Anglo. And then, of course, there's Botanica and Santeria, which is much more Latino, and Voodoo, which is Caribbean.
Haitian, yeah.
A Haitian, yes, and Cuban. And those different, they have different impacts on different ethnic groups of people.
I almost lost my mind. I thought these shoes were a cat. I ain't got no cat. Lord.
The ultimate goal was a one-world government, and it involved usually reducing anywhere from 40 to 60% of the planet's population. There were thousands, tens of thousands that were invaded. These hybrid alien creatures that came in to do their dirty work were the result of manufactured life forms specifically to do and carry out those orders.
The White House screening room. Yeah. And Reagan got up to thank me for bringing the film to show him, to show the president, the first lady, and all of their guests. And he just stood up and he looked around the room, almost like he was doing a head count. And he said, "I want to thank you for bringing E.T. to the White House. We really enjoyed your movie." And then he looked around the room and he said, "And there are a number of people in this room who know that everything on that screen is absolutely true." And he said it without smiling. But he said that, and everybody laughed. By the way, the whole room laughed because he presented it like a joke, but he wasn't smiling as he.
The Knowles family UFO encounter. Mother Faye, her sons Patrick, Sean, and Wayne, and their two dogs were driving from Perth to Melbourne, and they were approaching this bright light, and all of a sudden this light hovered above their vehicle, freaked them out, so they just started driving as fast as they could, and this thing just stayed above their car. And they said that it was vibrating their car. They could feel it in their heads. Like, goodness. And then all of a sudden this light above them picked up the car like a magnet. Boom, while it's driving. They claimed that they were telepathically communicated with, a feeling of presence trying to get inside of their minds. Oh, boy. The air inside the car became thick with a strange black dust, and then this thing just threw the car off the side of the road, and they were able to drive afterwards. Yeah. But their car, like their Roof was dented in. There's scratches all up on the top and along the sides. They immediately drove to the police department and reported it. They were dismissed. But it remains one of the most credible and dramatic UFO close encounter cases in the Southern Hemisphere.
Crazy. The Black Swan, the Horn of the Watchers, the unmasking of false heavens. If 3i Atlas was just ice and rock, it wouldn't carry resonance. It wouldn't disturb magnetic grids, and it wouldn't cloak. But radar scans show parts of the object flicker in and out, not vanishing, phasing, like a craft moving between dimensions or a gate phasing between worlds. The ancients didn't name stars just to guide ships. They mapped the exit. They left code inside constellations. And the brightest one, Polaris, was not a guide for the North. It was a tether, a false lighthouse to stop souls from finding the real gate. And now Atlas is approaching that line, not by accident, but by design.
Well, it's November 3rd, the Earth. So there was a lot of internet rhetoric going on, eh?
I'm asking, getting a good video of it, dude. Come to my house, man. You can see it from my house. Oh. I'm asking if I put it up on YouTube, man. You'll probably find it on YouTube. Take the best video, man, because I'm probably going to turn this one.
If you were going to go looking for humans, and you were a mini probe from, say, 3i Atlas, where would you go first? Who would you appear to first? I guess it'd be the Orbeez. You folks, you're not ready for this. Now, this is for entertainment purposes only. 3i Atlas. Come on, it's just a comet. It's just a comet. It's not a craft. Alas, 3i Atlas has entered perihelion, which is basically when it goes behind the sun and we can't see it. Nobody can. As of today, we know. We don't know, but we know. Because on the 28th, it went in perihelion, right? So it is out of view. What better time to whatever it is you've got to do if you're going to make your way to Earth or wherever it's going, right? The telescopes that have been watching it the whole time, the one in China, ours at NASA, the ESAs, they have been watching the whole time. And don't you find it strange that all three of these space agencies who consistently fighting with one another or trying to get to the finish line first so that they want bragging rights, and there was just so weird, there was just a blackout on everybody's telescope. If you're still buying into this crap that we're being fed through the media, well then, I'm so happy for you because your life is so much easier and your brain allows you to sleep at night. But now that we're in perihelion, there's two things that can happen, right? It either changes trajectory or it doesn't. If it does, it is not a comet, okay? Avi Loeb has already said, based on its mass, it's likely hollow. Right now would be the appropriate time to do something that you don't want to be seen. A couple things could happen. It could explode, break apart, and little pieces will go everywhere. They're just gonna come down. They're not going to just, hey, what's up, guys? Like in the movies, right? No, they're going to send probes, Orbeez, and wait until you see what I caught last night. Because today is the 30th, so as of now, we know exactly what it is. They're just not telling us. Will they ever? I don't know. But if they were going to make any contact of any kind, they would have to send out mini probes first, right? Oh, there's also that other piece of information where there's some composition of something within its structure, and it's giving off this nickel material, right? It does not exist in nature. It only exists from our factories. And it's like a combination of two different elements that create this certain type of nickel air or whatever. I'm trying to put it in the most layman's terms and sound like I'm smart, but really, I don't know any more than you do. Are you ready for what I caught last night? This was just a very strange capture for me. And immediately after, I saw another one much higher up. And then I saw a couple of other ones. I didn't record them all because I was like, well, what's the point? They're dots in the sky. I have so many videos of these tiny dots in the sky. But the one that I got, it was massively close. And it was heading directly to me and then went boop, and then off to the side. And then disappeared. If you were a mini probe from 3i Atlas, wouldn't you, text the Orbeez first? It would make sense. At least we're paying attention.
And on the video, did y'all catch at the very, very end of the video? I'm going to show it to you. Hold on.
So please help me welcome to the stage Vice President
Wait
J.D.
for it.
Vance.
Hold on. Not any of the... He broke eye contact quickly. Also, the video from the page I just showed you, Kane Real Talk, got some good content over there. But it was the way she tried to stare at him. And then he kind of, like, no, you know what I mean? Because he realized they were staring a little too long. And Kane Real Talk, I just want to say I love the way that you use wise men say, uh-huh. You stare a little too long, Erica. And look, he knew, and that's when he broke out. You just watch it one more time and notice how he does it.
That hug was a little weird. I don't think it meant anything. You know what I mean?
Hey, yo, I just want to know if I'm tripping or not. What type of PVC pipe is this?
Take exit 205 onto State Route 16 toward Griffin.
Siri, shut up. What type of PVC pipe is this? Star of Judah pipes. That's wild. Or whoever the fuck. Star of David. That's wild.
I just asked a simple question, y'all, to this lady. Well, I was confounded. It says ice cream. So why is this on the shelf? So I had asked the lady. She had got mad.
A few days ago, I saw this screenshot and I tested it. And if you take Google Translate and you put in 4 words, AstraZeneca. If you put those 4 words and you translate from Latin to English, you know what it says? What it means?
What does it mean?
Road to death.
Oh,
literally.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to get you on my nationally syndicated radio show. Oh my God. Repeat that again.
AstraZeneca, we know the big pharma company. If you split it into 4 words, AstraZeneca, and you translate it from Latin to English, it means the road to death. Literally, you can check it with your phone. I checked it. It's true.
That is mind blowing.
That's mind blowing.
You know, when you look at,
why would you name a company like that?
Why?
Like why? What's the reason?
Okay. I mean, it just, why would, and even terms when we talk about spelling, cursing, but also I keep telling women, stop calling your husbands, hey boo. So the term B-E-A-U, which is a French term, or boo, B-O-O, is a Norwegian term. It means my raper.
Really?
Oh.
So when a woman tells her husband, her fiance, or her boyfriend, hey boo, she just got done telling him, you're my raper. But we don't know the words. So I'm working on a dictionary. I've been working on a dictionary going on 6 years now. And I'm in letter X right now, that the entire 9,909 different languages, some say more, some say less, over 14,000 different dialects, some say some more, some say less, over 33,500 accents. 80% of those languages and dialects and accents are laced with curses. So even the term loose cipher, when you write the term loose cipher from right to left, because rabbinical Hebrew, including Arabic, is written from right to left, you get another Latin Vulgate term, refical, which means the recycling of fecal matter. So that homosexuality is an abomination, lesbianism is an abomination. But getting back to Cesare Borgia, he's the face of the Shroud of Turin. That's not Christ. The face of the Shroud of Turin is not the original Christ. What the Vatican did to create this cover-up, let's put layers of cloth over the face of a dead corpse, from which you get the term corporation, of Cesare Borgia, and then centuries later, perpetrated through a lie throughout the world, since we're talking about the immaculate deception of history, and say that's Christ.
And we have to mention that Cesare Borgia's father was a pope.
It's all in plain sight, but it's disguised in plain sight.
The firmament that humanity lives under is your own brain and skull. Why? Break down the word firmament. Firment. Mental. Mind. The firmament you live underneath is your skull and brain. That's the dome that you live underneath. Because you are not your body.
You are the invisible creational being inside your mind, the person who thinks. You have a person outside your mind, and you have a person inside your mind. This person who's outside the mind will die, but the person who thinks in your mind is eternal and will always be eternal. So the firmament is the brain. That's the dome, because your body is the earth. You're experiencing a simulation right now produced by your nervous system. Your nervous system is running the simulation. All of your 5 senses are decoded by your brain, and you experience, you see, you touch, you taste, you hear with your brain. And that's just running a simulation to your consciousness.
No se puede. Yeah.
Morbid Facts, Part 788. In 2008, 18-year-old Joshua Maddox left his home in Woodland Park, Colorado for a short walk and was never seen again. 7 years later, his mummified body was discovered inside the chimney of an abandoned cabin less than a mile from his house. He was found in a fetal position wearing only a thermal shirt with his other clothes neatly folded nearby. The coroner ruled his death an accident, suggesting he tried to enter the cabin through the chimney and became trapped. But the bizarre details, his position, the missing clothing, and the fact that the chimney was blocked off from the inside have fueled theories that Joshua didn't end up there by accident but was placed there by someone else. In 1930, a mannequin appeared in the window of a bridal shop in Chihuahua, Mexico, so lifelike that locals swore she wasn't made of wax at all. Her glass eyes, detailed hands, and visible veins fueled rumors that she was the embalmed body of the shop owner's daughter, a bride who died on her wedding day. Nicknamed La Pascualita, she's remained on display for nearly a century, still leaving visitors to wonder if they're looking at a mannequin or a corpse in a wedding dress.
A very obviously demon-possessed man broke into a church, and instead of trying to cast the demon out, the pastor decided to call the police and stand in the back of the church. Trigger warning, I am going to show you a small clip of the video. It's not too bad, but it is a little bit weird. That was footage from the body cam of the police officer. The guy was like ranting and raving about how he is Jesus Christ, and he was tearing apart the altar. He even attacked the police officer at one point, and the priest just stood in the back not saying a word. Even though he was very clearly demonically possessed, he kept throwing himself down. If you watch the whole video, he just keeps standing back up and throwing himself down violently, which is literally what the Bible says happens when people are demonically possessed. In Mark 9, the guy goes up to Jesus and says, whenever the demon seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. And if that doesn't convince you that this is literal possession, when he got up close, his eyes got like black lines through them, like how rock and roll does like the black makeup. In the video, it like comes over his eyes. There's a lot of places in the Bible that say things along the lines of like, woe to the worthless shepherd, woe to the shepherd that doesn't care about my flock. And there's a passage or two in the Old Testament that say in the end times, God will strike the idle or worthless, in some translations, shepherds, and their flocks will scatter. And I'm not trying to make a snap judgment, but if you are a pastor in a church and you just do nothing about that when a man is obviously suffering from demonic possession, like biblical, like it's exactly like how it is in the Bible, and you call the cops and don't try to like cast it out, that's a problem, because Jesus gives all of us the authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and all powers of the enemy with nothing harming us. So if you're teaching on God's authority as a job, you should be an example of that. And I think we're going to see a lot more of these types of things materializing. And I also think that there's going to be a lot of underdogs and random, just like everyday believers casting out demons while the priests hide.
I'm pretty sure the pastor didn't know he was possessed. Hide and call the police. Because you know what's going out there nowadays. People are just running in places and taking, you know what, end game. You're not around no more. So I believe the pastor did the right thing.
Just chilling, huh? Just chilling. Changing color. It's the brightest place. Like, whoa. Whoa. There it goes. Whoa. Whoa. That's a true. Huh. Wait, I can see another one up there. It's a trip. Come back. Come back.
Have someone at home who's always lying down? Wait, don't call them lazy just yet. They might actually be your family's secret good luck charm. This isn't laziness, it's what I call human feng shui. When they lie down, they're soaking up energy and pulling good vibes into the house. But here's the thing, it actually takes a lot of energy to do that. That's why they need to rest and recharge so often. So if you've got someone like this at home, don't complain, appreciate them. They're your family's lucky star, literally. Every minute they're lying down, they're quietly helping your home attract wealth and good fortune.
Gabe, show them an Italian security system.
Oh, well, it's pretty standard.
Boom. Let's go. Oh, and wait. I think there's one more thing that we can do to really button this up.
Oh,
Ain't nobody getting in here.
no.
Now, yesterday in Spain, a photographer came across a leucidic animal called the Liberian lynx, and they usually show up when there's about to be an ecological humanitarian crisis because they're basically the environmental messengers that's connected to the Atlantean energetic grid system. Now, when you get into the metaphysics of theological context, it talks about a great majority of these mythological creatures that's in the Bible. So when you go to Revelations chapter 21, verse 1, it says a new heaven and a new earth. That is the third dimension merging in with the fifth dimension. The physical world merging in with the quantum world at the same time, to where a lot of these mythological creatures start to show up in the form of an omen. When you get into the esoterics of indigenous culture, anytime that the universe sends a leucidic animal to the planet, they're basically a galactic messenger. Because when you look at the eyes of a Liberian lynx, their eyes have the ability to pierce the veil, and the white coating of their fur is a representation of the light body being activated during the time of the Great Awakening period as you have the fall of the physical world. All I'm gonna say is that the more the planet speeds up in vibration, the more these motherfucking Pokemon is gonna start popping up. And you can just tell by looking at the eyes of the Liberian lynx, it has an ancient energy. Because like I said, there's an ancient energy that's coming to the planet to combat the negative forces.
Well, the lynx was spotted by a wildlife photographer. The lynx was critically endangered in 2002, being that there were fewer than 100 of them. So that's most likely the cause of not seeing them very often. But they are out there, and there's too few of them to spot like that. It is rare, but no conspiracy.
Do y'all know about Mammoth Cave in Kentucky? Because this place definitely wins as the spookiest place in the natural world. First of all, it is the longest natural cave system in the world, with 420 mapped miles of passages. And that isn't even all of it. Experts believe this only represents 10% of the total cave. It's also considered one of the most haunted places in the US, with more than 150 documented paranormal events, many from credible witnesses like park rangers and scientists. Early Native Americans were the first to find the cave nearly 4,000 years ago. They bravely explored about 6 miles of the cave, with the only light source coming from their torches, some of which you can still find in the cave today, perfectly preserved. But then, after nearly 2,000 years of visiting the cave, Native Americans just stopped going there. And that's when the white settlers came in. The cave was then rediscovered in the 19th century and was eventually purchased by Dr. John Croghan for $10,000 in 1839. With this purchase, Croghan received several enslaved people, one of whom was a cave guide named Stephen Bishop, and who the National Park Service now deem as one of the greatest explorers Mammoth Cave has ever seen, which is far more than what Dr. Croghan contributed, which was just straight up creepy. He used the cave as a tuberculosis tent and moved 15 patients inside, thinking that the conditions of the cave would cure their TB. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Dr. Croghan's consumption colony was a total fail, with Croghan dying of TB himself in 1849. Now here's the spooky part. You can still see the remains of Dr. Croghan's consumption cabins while touring the cave. And in front of one of these cabins is a slab of stone, upon which the dead bodies of the TB patients were placed before being removed from the cave. This slab is aptly called corpse rock. Some people say they can still hear coughing in this section of the cave. And that is just where the paranormal encounters begin. During a blackout, which is when the guide will turn off all electric lights to show you what it would feel like to explore the cave with just an oil lantern, guide Larry Purcell noticed a black family standing behind the rest of his tour group, which surprised Purcell because he hadn't noticed any black tourists in his group. When Purcell turned the electric lights back on, he looked for the black family but couldn't find a single African American on his tour. The room where the ranger saw the black family is called the Methodist Church because miners once held religious services there. During those days, if a black family attended a service, it was customary for them to stand back a distance away from the whites in the group. Besides ghosts, the cave also holds bodies. One mummy found from pre-Columbian times, dubbed Lost John, was found under a 6-ton boulder that had crushed him while mining. The body was so well preserved that his woven sandals, the fabric on his clothing, even his facial expression was completely intact. The cave essentially freeze-dried him into place. And don't forget, we're capping off Spooky Science series with our Halloween YouTube episode dropping on October 30th. You don't want to miss that.
I trespassed on cult grounds, and someone inside caught me. Down a normal suburban street outside of Portland, Oregon, lurks one of the most enduring legends on the internet, the Temple of Oculus Anubis. When I arrived at the iconic gates, I was reminded of the opening to Castlevania. Or that scene in Willy Wonka where Charlie stands outside the gate and some random guy says, "Nobody ever goes in. Nobody ever comes out." Except in my case, the gates were open. I had a perfect view of the path leading to the towering statue of Sekhmet. I don't advocate trespassing. I had tried for weeks to find a way to reach the owners. So, resigned to being told to leave, having dogs sent after me, or being arrested, I stepped inside. I moved slowly down the path, soaking in the hauntingly beautiful atmosphere. I listened for rustling bushes or the beating of drums, looked for the flicker of torches or glimpses of hooded figures. But the only thing that appeared at the end of the path was a house. Not a gingerbread house or a Gothic mansion, just a house. I knocked at the door and waited. No answer. I turned to leave, but then the owner arrived and caught me on my way out. I shared about my educational experience and the type of content I create. We had a wonderful conversation, and to my surprise, she graciously gave me permission to tell the story I was hoping to tell. Oculus Inc. was the name of a fake eye care company that defrauded people of $3 million to fund the construction of what the internet calls Oculus Anubis. But that isn't the story I want to tell. That story's been told. This is the story about the stories we tell about this place. In the aftermath of fraud, the wife of one of those convicted was left to manage the property and the fallout. That fallout not only included those who were defrauded, but those who have created the lore around this place. There are tales of Egyptian death cults, networks of underground tunnels, secret occult gatherings, and even a fraudulent website called Oculus Anubis, The Rebirth, which is also the subtitle for one of the Howling movies. The owner told me once a man showed up with a sledgehammer threatening to smash the gates, forcing her to call the police. When I visited for the first time, a vandal had even smeared feces on the white statue of Sekhmet. The real story is about one person left to carry the fallout, where the very family behind the fraud kept creating new problems, all while internet sensationalists perpetuate myths that threaten the family, including the children that live here. As for the actual business happening behind these gates, the family is trying to rebuild their life by transforming this place from Oculus Anubis to Sunny's Organic Farm, specializing in chickens and eggs. There's an amazing irony in that this is the kind of place kids dare each other to enter, calling each other chicken if they refuse. Yet being a chicken is actually what qualifies you to get in here. Now, we can't deny certain buildings and landscapes evoke the imagination and inspire storytelling, but we need to handle each other's stories with care. In other words, good stories are important, but it's more important to be good neighbors. The reality is there is no cult inside the gates of Oculus Anubis, but there is a cult of chat around this cul-de-sac that has captured attention. This is my small effort to give gossip some glasses to see the truth and to encourage people to turn a blind eye to those trying to make this place a spectacle. You can help this family out by sharing this content and also engaging their blog. Details are in the caption. And let me know what you think of the myth of Oculus Anubis. For more stories like this, including the time I nearly lost my legs in the ruins of a giant's home in Wales, please follow along.
And that's what usually happens with these myths, right? The internet gets a hold of it and turns it into like 100 different stories that exaggerate what really did happen. That's why you can't always trust the internet.
Analog Horror Iceberg. I'm going to try to tell these with as few spoilers as possible, but there will be some. First up, we got The Backrooms. So The Backrooms originally was this fictional internet story or creepypasta, but Kane Pixels, this channel on YouTube, did a found footage style series over it that is really, really good. It follows this company called Async in the 1990s when they're researching and accidentally open up a portal to the Backrooms, which they call the Complex. They then try to utilize the potential of this unlimited, impossibly large, eerie liminal space to make money money for their company, which doesn't go well, obviously. We also get different POV footage of people that find themselves trapped in this never-ending maze and some sort of creature that is in there with them. Local 58. This is a story about a series of disturbing broadcast hijackings on a local TV station called the Local 58 in Mason County, West Virginia. This story uses these creepy emergency alerts and found footage videos to paint this story that's very cosmic horror-like. I would call it cosmic horror, but it shows this society that is collapsing because of this thing that is mentally influencing people's minds, and there are these forces beyond human comprehension that convince everybody to look at the moon, which is something I don't think they were supposed to do, because whenever people look at it, you hear a bunch of screaming and it doesn't sound good. And this can lead you to the conclusion that the moon is some sort of thing that is causing them to lose their minds beyond human comprehension. Eldritch horror, cosmic horror type thing. The Mandela Catalog. So this is another analog horror series that is set in the fictional county of Mandela in the state of Wisconsin. This is about these entities called alternates that are basically these skinwalker shape-shifting beings. These things psychologically just destroy people that interact with them to the point where they don't know who they are anymore and they end up self-destructing. And then these alternates come in and take over their lives and look just like the previous people. This story is told through a series of VHS tapes and public service announcements and even GPS systems, and it really uses technology to show people getting terrorized by these things, which is really cool. It also relies really heavily on biblical themes, as it shows this false prophet thing that is claiming to be the angel Gabriel. Next up, we got Gemini Home Entertainment. So this is a collection of stories that are shown through these fictional educational videotapes, like VHS tapes. The first of many of these tapes shows these wood crawlers, as they call it, that are basically like people that look like skinwalkers. It slowly starts to show how people around the world are getting this mysterious disease called deep root disease that seems to be caused by this parasitic being called the iris that is causing mental and physical deterioration. It seems that the iris is this sentient planet-sized creature that is located in space between the orbits of Neptune and Pluto. Monument mythos. So this is a extremely convoluted, complicated story about alternate history and different monuments across the world not being what they seem. They use landmarks and other freaky creatures, such as the Statue of Liberty that has this giant creature that is living beneath it called the Liberty Lurker that needs to eat meat to survive, which the government feeds with human. Also, there are alternate presidents throughout history in this story, such as John D. Rockefeller, James Dean, and even Al Gore. And there's a lot of weird creatures, such as the Statue of Freedom, which is literally a statue that is alive. And there's also this really weird special tree, which is like an extra-dimensional creature that opens gateways between realities. And it's all very complicated, but it's a lot of people's favorite analog horror, so there's a lot of lore in it. Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. So this is a story about a fictional national park in Texas that is essentially this giant living creature that people literally go inside of. The entire national park is inside this creature, but it is a huge tourist attraction. There are a lot of amenities and even like buildings inside the creature, such as shopping malls, bathhouses, a whole bunch of hiking trails, visitor centers. I mean, they even have hotels down there. But also inside this giant flesh pit, there are living creatures that essentially look like giant germs or bugs, and many people believe they are regular animals that were somehow mutated by the creature to become one of it. Because this is something the flesh pit does, it kind of combines things or amalgamates things to make it become one of it. Anyways, this story climaxes with the creature waking up during a big event, and it's really crazy. And it's an incredible story as well. Petscop. So Petscop is a horror web series that is disguised as a Let's Play video. It is about this guy named Paul who finds this long lost game on the PlayStation called Petscop, where he then documents it to show his friend that this game actually exists. It starts off as this happy game where you collect pets, kind of like Pokemon, and then he ends up discovering this dark side of the game that has this really eerie atmosphere and strange puzzles, and there's references to real-world tragedies and deaths, such as the case of Candace Newmaker, who passed away during a therapy session called Rebirthing that actually happened in real life. Last one on this list, we have the Boiling following one. So this is another analog horror by this guy named Dr. Nowhere, who actually watches some of these iceberg videos sometimes, which is cool. Anyways, this story is about this demonic entity known as the Boiled One, sometimes called Fen 228, that hijacks a TV broadcast in the southern Pennsylvania area. This broadcast becomes known as Broadcast 813. In this video, we see what appears to be this creature that has a red melted face, and for some reason, no matter who heard it, it spoke in the language that they understood. 530 residents saw this thing in the broadcast, and it left them horribly scarred. So whatever this thing was a horrible incognito hazard, and whenever the government or whoever it was heard about this broadcast, they immediately had to cut off the power and try to scrub this thing from anywhere. Anyways, 12 days after this broadcast, 509 of the people that saw it went into something called a pseudo-coma, which is this thing in this series called locked-in syndrome, where they can't move at all, they're basically paralyzed, and are unable to move or communicate other than like blinking and stuff. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for enjoying really strange topics like this and allowing me to be able to research this forever to make this video. But man, it is so crazy what so many individual creators can make on their own online. But I hope you guys are having a good spooky season. If you want to support this channel, this merch right here is only available until October 31st. So if you want it, you better get it right now. But if you want to see some longer videos, I'm doing more on YouTube right there. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
What the Hey, I cannot be the only one that's feeling this right now. Y'all, as I'm sitting here, sitting underneath the sun, right? I feel like I'm being supercharged by the sun, but at the same time, I feel like I'm being hit by waves of energy. What the, y'all, I cannot be the only one that's feeling this right now. Is anyone else feeling this? Can y'all go find stillness somewhere, y'all? Go find stillness somewhere. Like, primarily in the sun, right? But find stillness, and it feels like you're underwater. It literally feels like you're underwater. Is anybody else feeling this right now? I feel like I'm literally underwater right now. Like, not literally, but spiritually, like esoterically, energetically, I feel like I'm underwater. I'm getting it. I'm within the waves. Is anybody else experiencing this right now? Bro, something big is going on, bro. I feel like it feels something big is happening, bro. Do y'all feel that?
I saw the Lord extending the timeline. The year was 2035. Science, tech, AI, and religion had somehow joined hands. I found myself in 2040, and listen, I couldn't see iPhone or Apple or any of those companies, and were no longer entirely in charge. 2035 was the beginning of utopia and Pandora's box. But 2040, the utopia seemed to descend into a dystopia. Our creations were now creating themselves. Cancers were being all but eradicated. Men were making medicines that seemed to erase the death gene. Babies that were in certain countries being mandated to be microchipped from birth. I saw Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and much of Western Europe becoming forefront leaders in a world order. Then the Lord brought me back to 2025, and he said these words: you have 5 years left. I will give you to build your arks, 5 years to build your Goshens, 5 years for the church of my people to decide whether they want to be the head or they want to be the tail.
Va al lago. Va al lago. Amplía la imagen para que se vea. Esto va al lago. Servicio, tira turbina. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No, no, lo voy a aterrizar en el lago. Va al lago. No, no, no. No. No, no. No, por Dios. No. No, 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 no. Ay, se me ponen los pelos de punta, boludo. Vamos, por favor, que salga todo bien, boludo. No, lo va a volver a levantar. Va con motor, va con motor. Vamos, la
¿Qué hace?
enviado. Ah, largó combustible. Eso es largar combustible para poder aterrizar. ¿Largó combustible? Sí, eso es larga el combustible para aterrizar.
¿Y a dónde aterriza?
Tira todo el combustible. No, no te puedo creer, pa.
Está poniendo un producto en el lago. ¿Qué es esto? Nunca en mi vida había
Pero
algo
ahí
así.
sube otra vez.
No, sube. Largó producto en el lago. No, están poniendo algún producto en el lago.
Ay, no, esperá.
Paré, no dejes de filmar.
Creo que se le pone ahí.
Ah, boludo, me hizo bosta, pa. Largó combustible.
Me hizo bosta de adrenalina que sentí.
Largó combustible. Si largó combustible es porque tiene que aterrizar.
Da la vuelta ahí y se viene para acá.
Puede ser.
That this thing is in the middle of the water. Did I leave that part out? Well, yeah, it's in the middle of the water. And we are supposed to just believe that they had a great shipping company, an architect, a financial guy that would make sure that they had this all covered in the year 708. Oh, and it of course lasts forever. With 0 issues and not one flaw in the construction. It's perfect. Unlike anything that we have ever constructed today. How does the mainstream history make any sense at all at this point? You cannot go from this in 708 to evolving and advancing into sheds. And now we build Motel 6s. It's crazy. How can anyone ever go into a history class again without laughing? The year 708 was just a year of brilliance, I guess. Yeah, right. These buildings are from the previous civilization, and more people are realizing this every single day. And once you know, you know. You don't go back to thinking that the year 708 built massive structures on a cliff in the middle of the water with a train that just pulls right up to the front door. And I was on Google Maps just looking around and saw this city in Italy. And I went down to the street view and I saw that they have this fountain. The whole city clearly was found, repurposed, and is being used today. And as we spin this camera view around,
These videos are for entertainment and education. Real or fake, fact or fiction. Let me know what you think about these videos down in the comments section. I'd like to thank you for watching. Until next time, this is CYPTV and I'm out.